You can scroll through TikTok for hours without getting bored, but the moment you open a book and read a few pages, you already feel like giving up. Many people think that's because they're lazy, but the truth might surprise you. The problem isn't laziness, it's the way our brains are programmed. In a famous talk called How to Make Learning as Addictive as Social Media, Luis von Ahn, the founder of the language learning app Duolingo, shared a very interesting example. He said that learning is like broccoli, while social media is like a sugary cake. Broccoli is very good for your health, but if you place it next to a sweet cake, most of us won't choose the broccoli. Learning is the same. It's good for your future, but it isn't as attractive as short videos, likes, or notifications on your phone. The reason lies in instant rewards. When you post a photo on social media, just a few seconds later, your phone starts vibrating. Someone likes it, someone comments, and you immediately feel recognized. Meanwhile, if you learn 50 new vocabulary words today, it might take months when you take an exam, or even years when you start working before you truly see their value. The human brain doesn't like waiting that long. Our ancestors were programmed to prioritize immediate benefits in order to survive, like eating the prey they just caught instead of saving it for tomorrow. Because of this, the brain naturally tends to choose things that bring instant pleasure. Another important factor is dopamine. Many people think dopamine is the happiness hormone, but neuroscientists say that's not entirely accurate. Dopamine is actually the chemical that creates anticipation. It motivates us to take action to seek rewards. Social media understands this very well and takes full advantage of it. Every time you swipe your screen, you don't know what the next video will be. It might be extremely entertaining, or it might be very boring. This uncertainty increases curiosity and raises dopamine levels in your brain, making you want to keep swiping again and again. This principle has been proven for a long time. In the 1950s, psychologist B.F. Skinner conducted a famous experiment with rats. He placed a rat in a cage with a lever. At first, every time the rat pressed the lever, food would drop out. The rat only pressed it when it was hungry and then ignored the lever afterward. But when Skinner changed the rules, sometimes pressing the lever produced food, sometimes nothing happened at all, and sometimes a lot of food appeared, the rat's behavior completely changed. It started pressing the lever continuously, almost without stopping. The rat became absorbed in the suspense of not knowing what it would get next. This is very similar to how we scroll through social media. Each swipe is like pressing the lever, and the uncertainty keeps us repeating the action. So why don't we apply this principle to learning? A common mistake is rewarding ourselves in a way that is too predictable. For example, studying for 1 hour and then watching a movie for 15 minutes. The brain quickly recognizes this pattern and finds it boring. Instead, you can turn studying into a small game. For example, prepare a reward box. Inside are small pieces of paper with different rewards written on them, such as drinking milk tea, resting for a few minutes, listening to your favorite song, or simply better luck next time. After finishing a part of your lesson, you get to draw one. Just the excitement of reaching your hand into that box is enough to trigger dopamine in your brain. However, rewards alone are not enough to maintain long-term motivation. There are 3 psychological principles that can make learning more engaging and sustainable. The first principle is using the fear of loss. People usually feel more pain from losing something they already have than joy from gaining something new. Apps like Duolingo use this by creating learning streaks. When that streak reaches 30 or 50 days, you won't want to miss a day because you're afraid of losing the progress you've built. You can apply this by hanging a calendar in front of your desk. Each day you complete your task, mark a big X on that date. After some time, the chain of X marks becomes motivation because you won't want to break the chain. The second principle is starting extremely small. When you think about studying for several hours straight, your brain triggers resistance because the task feels too heavy. Instead of saying, "I will study for 2 hours," say, "I will just read 1 line." When the task becomes ridiculously easy, the brain stops resisting. Once you start, chances are you will continue reading a few more lines, then a few pages, because the brain naturally wants to finish what it has started. The third principle is creating immediate feedback.
When you play a game, you instantly know whether you scored a point or failed. This quick feedback is what makes games addictive. Traditional studying, on the other hand, is often very quiet. You read dozens of pages but receive no signal that you're improving. To solve this, break your lesson into very small sections and test yourself after each one. Flashcards or quiz apps are extremely effective tools. Every time you answer a question correctly, you get a small victory, and those small victories build your motivation to keep learning. Technology companies spend millions of dollars researching how to keep users on their platforms longer. They understand the weaknesses of the human brain very well and use them to make us keep scrolling for a few more minutes, then a few more hours. But if we understand those same mechanisms, we can apply them in ways that benefit ourselves. Instead of letting dopamine pull us into the endless loop of social media, we can use it to make learning more engaging. When you learn how to redesign the learning process, you realize that the problem isn't a lack of discipline. Sometimes all it takes is a different approach, and learning can become a series of small challenges, small victories, and interesting rewards. And who knows, one day you might actually start feeling addicted to learning in the best possible way.